the story I'm going to be telling you actually takes place in the time that some of you are going to be familiar with. Back when I had my original channel, if some of you know how to find it, if some of you know how to access it, and also from what I've been sharing in glimpses of the archives of what were meant to be uploaded there as well, are part of the timeline and part of the era that was for me. Back then, what I'm going to be referring to is from those years. And it's going to be stuff that happened and went around at the same time that I was making what I was passionate with back then. So this starts with my mom moving us into a new house at the time. This house was in a new area where it was also home to a separate school district, and I just had to, of course, be moving into that school district for my next school year. It was something that I definitely was not prepared for, not looking forward to. And it was, of course, something that I was just a bit hesitant, nervous about, and just thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm really going to enjoy this at all. Just not sure what I was in for. At the time, I was around 13 years old. And I must have been 13. It was like 2014 when I started. Yeah. So that's definite. So at that time, I was someone who did drawing in my own notebooks. And as an artist, I had advanced later on into digital, much later, having to discover what it was really like to adapt to that kind of stuff. But for the time, I had been drawing inside my notebooks, and I kind of just didn't really care, I guess, for needing sketchbooks to have the most clear look at my drawings. I just did not mind about the notebook lines and stuff for some reason. It just filled them out like nothing. But back then, I felt like expanding and thinking about sharing my art in other places. So when I had my first phone, it was very easy to be interested in DeviantArt back then, where lots of teenagers were just jumping on to think about sharing their art there, no matter where they drew it on paper, digital, as clear as day as you wanted it to be. You wanted to find some place to just put your art on, other than putting it somewhere like Instagram where it's just a photo and a post. It was a lot to really be interested back then, and I just felt like I enjoyed wanting to put myself into those things. I enjoyed wanting to let myself imprint my personality in other places. So we'll come back to this. Another thing at the time was just being interested in my own little music. So when I would draw with this artwork, I would just have my own dedicated kind of like playlists and just enjoying my own personal music in my own genres and stuff. And for the time, I was like an indie and pop kid, and I just was in my own zone when really sketching and stuff, probably after school and just free time, just doing what I wanted in these notebooks, just thinking about if I'm gonna share these or just keep them to myself with whatever got worked on by the time it was done. And because I was doing all this stuff in my free time outside of school, I would not realize that what I was doing was just trying to ease the pain in a way. There was a lot of pressure that was on me with just trying to work with this new school's actual way of teaching. It was the same kind of public schoolwork, but something about how they taught felt like it was more advanced for me to adapt to. Not every school is the same in what they teach and stuff, so it was just how it felt on me, and I just had a rough time getting by, and I just felt like I was questioning why everything was so hard and why everything felt so tough to me. Just trying to work with getting decent grades at this new way at adapting to this, all of this. And one of the things that I also had to get me by was the new friend group I made for the time in that school. I had to get used to some people eventually. And so the thing about these people was that all these kids had known each other already. They were literally like a whole clique knowing each other since like grades passed, and I was just some guy that came by and just got used to them. And for the time, it was just having to work with some sort of company to make myself feel like I could, cope and all of this. But for the time, I knew in the back of my head, once I got home, it wasn't going to be the same as how they spend their time at home. In this time, I was actually a completely offline kid. Once I moved into this new house, we had no internet. All we had were our games, and we could just play anything offline. There was nothing we could really do about it, and I just had to work with what I could with enjoying like single player campaigns and stuff. Literally playing Minecraft just offline, fully creative world, just playing it to myself. And also, from what you've seen on YouTube, that's how I decided to share what I made, just to get shown to the world in a way of getting to share it, wanting people to see what I've made. That kind of stuff was what I wanted to do for the time. And so many things were just working with what I had. And it didn't really make me upset. I just felt like I was actually making myself happy just doing what I could. And when we had a mobile data plan back then, I could only watch so much like 1080p content before it caps for the month. And it's limited. So all videos basically lag unless you watch them in like 360, 240p and just try to get by it. And back then I just consumed Markiplier and just nice gaming content that I thought was going to be enjoyable to me, with just being so aspiring and wanting to make content for my own. And I would even want to share it to those people I made friends with and just wanting to show them what I was doing. And that was a thing for the time where I was just working with what I had and trying to make the best out of it. So coming back to DeviantArt, in this time, I was really trying to work with DeviantArt, just trying to make sure I could share my art there, just to extend that expressiveness in me. Just wanting to share something. I shared stuff to YouTube, so I wanted to share it to DeviantArt as well. And then I ran into hiccup on DeviantArt. Whenever I'd make my account and start over my account, I had to keep starting over, trying to see if something would change with this one thing. And it was that the related art under every post wasn't even related to my actual subject and topic of the art. Maybe it was for the time not understanding if I had to put tags, any descriptors, anything, but it got me so disappointed because I felt like I wasn't discoverable. I felt like it wouldn't make me be able to be seen or found. I didn't know how it worked. And I was just thinking that if I couldn't share anything, I couldn't figure something out. I just wanted to end it. And so for the time, not knowing anything, not having anybody to really help me out with not knowing how to get by something that I was trying to work with, it was seeing if it was hit or miss. It was seeing if I could do it myself. If not, I would just drop it. And that also extends to some stuff that goes into what I also shared to my friends back then. With offline games, right? Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 came out eventually. And when that game came out, it was a new formula, it was a new thing. People liked being able to create a character and work with this new campaign. And I wanted to play the campaign. And so when I bought the game, I bought it with my own money. I was going to enjoy it just like every other single player game on my Xbox 360. At the time, I was just going to enjoy what I had and being like, oh yeah, this is going to be so cool. And once I popped it in, I created my character. And then for the time, since I couldn't really look stuff up, I guess I couldn't look stuff up. I just could not find out how to play the campaign. And it sat there for like months until I could actually find out how to do it. And I'd probably find out an online solution by Googling it eventually and being able to see what I could find. And that's because when I brought this to my friends and I asked them, how do I do this? How do I start the game? They even had the game, and I had to ask them, I went to them and asked them, how can I start the campaign? I want to play the story. They didn't help me for some reason. They just did not tell me how to do this. And so, since I was alone with this, I had to figure it out for myself. And I had to just sit on it and think, I'll do it eventually. I'll get the hang of this eventually. And that's what I mean when I say that my younger self definitely deserved a better social life. That the people I had for the time, they weren't really that great to me, especially with how I came along in their lives. And I was just trying to get by in this school, and they were one of the comforts I had. And apart from my home life, I was trying to work with doing this the best I could, and it just was so much different to me. So, getting into the actual activity of these friends, I knew that, of course, on the surface, there was a lot of things that we shared. But for the time, I thought I had to be somebody to really be comfortable with them. I thought I had to really be somebody to be in with them. And when they all got into Five Nights at Freddy's, when it first came around, like 2014, I decided to involve myself with that too, even though it wasn't really that much of my interest and wasn't really up my alley in the first place. I was like, okay, I'll just follow what they're enjoying. So that was about being in with them, wanting to make sure that I enjoy what they enjoy, or I follow what they're all onto, so that I don't feel like I'm out of place. And at the time, I did notice that I was kind of getting treated like I had to adapt to stuff for them, I guess. I'm not sure how to really word it, but there was a time when they were talking about, like, I guess something Marvel related. And then they mentioned Stan Lee. And then for my ears, I thought they said the first name Stanley. I asked them, who's Stanley? And they all told me, you don't know who Stanley is? Collectively. And I was saying, I know who Stan Lee is. I just thought y'all were saying the name Stanley. And that was one of the times where I noticed I'm being treated a bit differently. Probably with everything that came around, with how I came around. And these are the people who I came to school just knowing that they were going to be the company I had to help me get through the day in a way. And it's just how it worked for me at the time. I just felt like this was what I looked forward to help me get by, with one of these things that helped me get comfortable. So one day, I mustered up the courage to tell them something that I felt like I was holding deep inside. I mean, because I shared lunch with them, I decided to tell them one time during lunch, I feel like y'all treat me like an idiot sometimes, and I don't want y'all to keep treating me like I'm an idiot compared to the rest of y'all, pretty much. And me laying that out meant it was okay for me to speak up. I didn't know if I should just follow how everyone else is going across stuff, but then I realized I can be independent. I can do my own stuff. And it's because I was letting some of that activity of theirs carry me for the longest. And I didn't know how else to proceed without that until I brought it to mind. So I had spent 2 years with these people. My last year of junior high and my first year of high school. And once this was coming to a close, I knew my parents were going to let me go back to my original school district. I had known that I was getting the freedom I wanted. I wanted to get the freedom back of being able to be in a comfortable place again, being able to be back to my original school district, going to the high school I was meant to go to originally. And I saw it in sight. It was definitely for sure for me. And I knew in the back of my head that even though I was seeing this as so liberating, some part of me felt like I wouldn't be able to come back to these people. I wouldn't be able to come back to the friends I made. I wouldn't be able to just come back to them because they were going to toss me away like I was never there to begin with and just continue their lives like I was only in there for a day. And at the time, when I was making content, I was just trying to make a name for myself, doing what I could. I would actually not realize at that time that all the pressure, all the struggling I had from school, I didn't even realize I was depressed. I didn't even realize I was going through depression when I was upset at having to get by school and thinking, "Oh, this is so hard. I can't believe I'm really like going through this, and I can't believe it's really weighing me down this much. It's just school." Back then, it was so different to me, and even after school, I was just doing what I could with no one bothering me and my own little hobbies and just enjoying what I could. And after that, I started making a new YouTube formula. I created this channel. I wanted to venture to new stuff once I was in this next year of school. When that started, I just went through school completely changed. I went through school like I came out of like freaking war because I went into my next year of high school just feeling like I had no time for interaction. I could interact, but I ate lunch alone. And when I did interact with the classmates around me, it was just inside of that class, and there was nothing outside the class. That's because I felt like I had no time to want to do anything, like nothing was worth it. Because I felt like I had no reason to. I just kept to myself with most of my stuff and just felt like besides getting the schoolwork in, I wanted to just get through school. I felt completely drained and ready to just push on through because I felt like I got treated so differently that I didn't even want to bother doing most of the interaction, just trying to get good grades. So even after graduation, I just kept to myself. I didn't really have contact with anybody. I never kept contact with people who I did interact with who were like friends in my classes. It was just all just being solo. I just did not know how else to go about this use of trying to think that it was the most comforting thing for me was just being alone and being to myself. Because the only people I actually interact with the most were just online friends. By then, I was just trying to get myself more used to thinking that the ties with people online felt like they'd be better than thinking of keeping the ties and the friendships I did make IRL that felt like they could go somewhere, but probably weren't going to last much because everybody goes off on their own journey after high school. Maybe I could have turned out a bit different if I went the path I wanted to go, but that really does change somebody. And it changes all of their hope, their aspiration, the drive they have in themselves. And I even kind of got chipped away, broken down, chewed and spat out in a way where the person I once was before, so ambitious and friendly and ready to go at anything, was just put through a world of hurt. And it made me so much change where I just did not want to make friends with people long lasting at the time from what I got through that entire experience. It's the craziest thing. And now this is what made me look back at all this recently. I have some playlists of my own personal music enjoyments while I enjoy my drawing sessions. And one of the recent artists that I made a playlist over that I fully discovered the discography of was of Monsters and Men. Um, they do have a pretty popular song back in the day. They're somewhat familiar to the ears. And I was thinking about how this kind of music definitely would have fit in to what I was already enjoying with that whole indie pop phase. For the time, I definitely would have added these guys into my music. I definitely would have just played them the same as all these other things while doing all those sketches on all of that nice time to myself. And one of these tracks was the last one to play when I was playing this playlist, and it was one of their more emotional tracks. It was a very special track they made, and as the track went on, I just started reminiscing on just how I would have felt with this music being so comforting me back then, and how the feeling was with just having comforting music and being in my own space when I was so young. And then the track ended, and tears flowed down my face. All my emotion right there was into one thought, and that thought was that I wanted to just hug that innocent kid. Because all of the culmination of these memories coming back to me, it just made me think that this path that we're not able to control sometimes is just so wild. And I don't know what it's like for any of you that have gone through something where you didn't expect to be changed by something carrying you and taking you in a direction you didn't know you were in for. But it helps me think about how I'm smart about my decisions now. It helps me think about what shaped me into analyzing some things first, analyzing the people I come across online and thinking, are they legit or are they trying to use me or just trying to have some malicious purpose? It's one of the reasons why I have made myself so hardened and prepared for anything because I had to find out what I could be treated like early on. And that's only because I was put down a path that I didn't know I was going to get into. Like always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you get to share in the comments your experiences that you want to relate to me, share to me, and let me know how this video has impacted you or made you feel. Thank you for enjoying this storytelling, and until next one or another ACN Clear, ACN, we up.